The future belongs to those who dare, those who will do extra. Hi, I'm Mark Croskery, and welcome to Business Live Extra, the program that looks beyond dollars and cents to the movers and shakers in business and the capital markets. Today's guest has worked in the financial industry for 12 years in Jamaica. He has held several management roles at some of the most prestigious financial organizations. He has had a wide knowledge of bond, currency, and equity trading within the financial sector. He won the Caribbean Masters Investing Competition in 2005. In 2008, he was dubbed the Alliance Investment Stock Wizard after winning the Investment Masters competition as well. Joining us today is Mr. Andre Hutchinson, CEO of Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS, the leader in epoxy flooring and the operator of the Contractor Centre, TCC. Andre, welcome to Business Live Extra.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
It's great seeing you. Great having you.
Thanks, man. It's been a long time.
You're our first, flooring maestro, as they say, coming on to the show Business Live Extra.
Well, I'm happy to be here. We've been trying to spread the word, and we're happy to share our story.
Yeah. For the average guy out there, customer out there, family, what is epoxy? When they say epoxy flooring, we know what flooring is, but what's special, and and how did you get into this epoxy flooring business?
So epoxy is really, it's a catch-all term, really. It's really called resinous flooring, where we mix chemicals, resins, and hardener to create a hard, seamless surface for different type of people. So whether it be regular companies, industrial, warehouses, that sort of thing. And it's been a journey to get here. We spent so much time in the financial sector.
Yes.
And my parents and I, we actually had a small loans company back in 2008-9, and at that time the sector was going through some amount of changes, so I decided whether you wanted to either get bigger or reinvest the monies that we had made, and so we decided to reinvest into different ventures. And
so you have a wide experience and long historical experience in the financial sector.
Yes.
Would you say that really helped benefit you in terms of being an entrepreneur today, founder of this business, Caribbean Industrial Systems, Contractor Centre? So,
we learned a lot from, I learned a lot from people who had worked for, from JMB to Guardian Asset Management to Proven. I learned different skill sets from each of the leaders of those organizations. Mm-hmm. And even, I think the one I carry with me the most is actually from JMB, where service to your clients and to your team is critical to making the business move forward.
And how did you get what was the exact moment, especially for the entrepreneurs, even the young entrepreneurs who watch Business Live Extra, what was the kind of light bulb effect? What hit you, or was it one morning, or was it one day in the office? But what gave you the idea to start this epoxy flooring, tools rental business? We'll get to that, but what gave Andre Hutchinson that light bulb effect?
So I was in the small loans. We had helped some people in terms of giving them some funding, and we had a glimpse into the business where I think it was when rainforest was being done many years ago, and the gentleman who was doing it kind of introduced it to us, and we initially partnered with him, and I realized companies need to be certified, whether it be HACCP, ISO, they need hygienic environments for their production. And so this is not a short-term business. This is something people are going to do. And as businesses grow, they're going to need more flooring and different areas to be done. And so we decided at the time in the global framework about 2013, 2014, that this is something that companies are going to have to do going forward. And we want to be part of that.
And when did you when was the company founded, incorporated? Roughly around what timeline?
January 2013 was our incorporated date. Our first job was March 2013.
Was it just booming right away? A bed of roses, or what were some of the challenges that you really faced? And especially pivoting from, say, the full-time job, jumping away from the financial sector into, what some would view as kind of that manufacturing distribution environment. What were some of the challenges you faced?
Well, when you first start, you don't know what you don't know. That was actually the thing. So it was on the fly. You're learning. You tried to perfect the transaction, but the transaction, which is actually doing the floor, was the focus. But in business, it's a lot more than that, right? It's about dealing with your people, your team, and strategic advancement. And so that first year was a lot of things rushing at you. We had some good relationships at the time because we started off in Jamaica, but we also did work in Dominica and Guyana that first year. And so, logistics was a big thing for me to learn. Went from finance, I didn't know anything about moving product or people around the Caribbean. And so, there were definitely some ups and downs that first year.
And, a lot of persons do burnout in finance. I mean, would you say, as you mentioned, you saw clients, you saw different things, you saw opportunities, but was the pivot a part of saying, you want to be kind of, in the meat of the matter, you want to be helping persons directly and be in a different sector? Was that a part of the story, or the kind of pivoting outside of the financial sector?
I think at some point, when you're in finance, sometimes you outlive your usefulness, right? Finance is a very intense industry, standards. You have to make the profits each quarter, and there are continued dynamics that they want, different roles that you'd like to take on. And I had reached a point where I wasn't certain that I wanted to continue with the roles that I was being presented with. So I decided, it's better to try on my own rather than to continue around a path that somebody else was setting for me.
No, Andre, the legal name is Caribbean Industrial Systems,
yes.
CIS.
Yes.
But on your shirt today, the logo.
Yes.
Contractor Centre, kind of on Shortwood Road.
Yes.
Right around Grand Spend right there, high traffic area. So what's the whole difference between Contractor Centre and the legal name of the company, and how did that come about?
Okay. So after operating for about 6 years, so Caribbean Industrial Systems we do floors, so it's like a project-based business. So you do projects from, you have projects, you don't have projects. So what happens is sometimes you have a lot of money, sometimes you have small. So what we try to do is find opportunities to even out our cash flows.
And when you say that, meaning when you can either win contracts, but you have to collect the receivables.
So it takes a time. You do the job, and you have to collect, and so there's a flow of money that is not consistent. Like if you had like a storefront. So we in 2018 we started focusing on that to try and find a storefront that we would even out the cash flows of the business, right? And so we identified a business called Earmark Equipment and Tools, which is on Shortwood Road, and we entered into agreement in January of 2019. And then we closed that deal in June 2019, and we've been operating ever since then.
And would you say this is kind of where your finance background came in? So this was Caribbean Industrial Systems' first acquisition or first kind of deal now
Absolutely.
In the market?
And we raised a bond back then, and we had some great partners who helped us raise the bond, and we got some participation from some financial companies in the bond to complete the transaction.
Excellent. And, looking back at that and where you're at today, let's say roughly, 4 years later, how do you find that location has performed? Has it kind of even out the cash flow? I mean, has it driven the company to where you expected it to be?
Well, it definitely, right after that COVID came, right? So
yeah, that's true.
Customers were not, the traditional companies were not necessarily in a position to spend any money in 2020. So, but the construction sector, where we rent tools to contractors, whether it be jackhammers, paint, cement mixers, generators, whatever the full gambit, that sector still worked consistently throughout COVID. And so as a result, we were able to, it really offset a lot of the reduction in flows during that period, and really has set a nice foundation for us. It performed better than we had expected in 2020.
So you saw during that kind of pandemic experience, call it Black Swan event, that really the Contractor Centre was really more COVID resistant than the flooring side.
Absolutely.
Okay, companies would kind of push off a flooring for a year or however long.
Projects are ongoing. People have to keep going, And I mean, during that time, who wants to actually buy an equipment? You prefer to rent the equipment, So you can finish your project, you still have your cash flow, and so it's been an eye-opening experience dealing with the construction sector. Yeah.
And what's kind of like the head count now, like between just the company overall, your different revenue segments, etc. I mean, how many staff do you have at the company?
Day to day downstairs in that deal with the tool rental, we have about I'd say 6 to 7 people day to day. On the flooring side, we have up to 12 contractors who we work with, and then we'll have 3 team members upstairs, including myself, who kind of handle the strategic part of the business.
Great. We're going to come right back to that point. Great to hear. We take our first break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS, began operations in 2013, with the company being incorporated in February 2012. CIS specializes in distribution and installation of protective coatings and overlay systems poured, laid, and sprayed for the industrial, commercial, and residential sectors locally and regionally. The company has distribution points in Guyana, Trinidad, and right here in Jamaica. CIS has worked with major brands such as Walkerswood, National Bakery, Federated Pharmaceuticals, Digicel, Seprod, Honeybun, Jamaica Teas, and many more. A few of the core services CIS provides for excellent flooring material are epoxy, waterproofing, and textured coating. To tell us more is Andre Hutchinson, CEO of Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS. Andre, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Mark.
You know, would you say, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. I mean, would you say the flooring business is a sexy business, or it's kind of one of those just boring and dirty businesses, but great cash flow? Or, you know, how do you kind of talk about your business?
No, I definitely wouldn't describe it as sexy. Right?
Okay.
But I would definitely say it's a
But
very...
is it boring, or is it somewhere in the middle?
Let's say somewhere in the middle. But I think remember now, we make up of two businesses, right? So the two rental, I'd say, is a grind it out day by day, going through kind of a boring business. The flooring is really adventurous, right? Because you get to see the transformation of your workspace. So you get these spaces that, you know, you cannot believe that this is what you're going to be working, and then to see it transformed over a 4 to 5 day period is really, really fun.
So if you jump onto, you know, social media, Instagram, and you just see a floor and it looks shiny, and somebody says, well, a floor is a floor, it just looks shiny, and yes, I understand you did this for whoever it is, a JMEA member, you know, or whoever your client base is. Is it just as simple as saying it's a new floor and it's shiny, or is there some, you know, secret sauce, or as you were mentioning earlier, regulatory reason, health reason, that there's something in that floor?
But the interesting thing about the business is that the answer is it depends. Right. So, like for instance, if you're doing a factory that is a processing area, you need to have it. You need to have it textured. You need to have it antibacterial, antimicrobial. It doesn't necessarily have to be shiny, but it has to be strong. Has to be resistant to whatever the challenges of the day are. But if you get a nice look, we recently did a project for NIDS, where they did their facility, which is going to be opening soon. It's a shiny floor. It's a beautiful floor. Okay. Right? It's functional. You're gonna have foot traffic and stuff. It's fantastic. But if you do something for a pepper factory, right? It needs to be strong and functional. And so the great thing about it is perfectly customizable. No two floors are the same. No two situations are the same. So we enjoy taking it on.
So the client's scope of work really specifies, and then Caribbean Industrial Systems, you meet that. But it could be, when you spoke of regulations earlier, it could be like a U.S. regulation for, say, canned ackee.
Correct.
So the food sector, does it play a pivotal role?
Absolutely. So in the food sector, Jeremy, when we are doing it, so like for ackee or for pepper or for seafood, right? Their regulations are very high. And so, I mean, it's good for people to understand that the companies are out there ensuring that they're meeting these regulations, so the food that you do get is healthy. And so we play a role in that. Of course.
And do you find, where do you think more of the growth is at this stage and what you're seeing? You know, let's say Contractor Centre, it's on your shirt, you're branding it, you know, 4 years in, other businesses roughly 10 years, but where are you seeing more scalability or potential for revenue growth, you know, for you and your shareholders?
So every time we do work for somebody, right, they always ask me, where have you been, right? So I think our biggest issue is that we're not a visible company. I'm not a visible person, right? I like to grind and get the work done. And so for us, our whole focus is to, you know, allow people to know who we are, that we are here to work, and that we are here, we can help. But from a strategic point of view, we are trying to increase distribution in our tool business, because it's very similar clientele, right? So if we have different distribution points, whether it be regionally or internationally, that's our focus, and then carry along with the epoxy to be able to say, okay, we're having a suite of services that we offer to people.
Good. So it's kind of, in a way, these are add-on services, as you have time and management, capital to do them, but you think they're symbiotic, really?
They're very symbiotic.
Okay.
I mean, as we go along, I mean, having a storefront, I mean, our storefront is beautiful, right? We have a beautiful blue floor with our logo in the floor. People walk in, they notice it. They're here to do another transaction, of course, but what it does is allow them to speak to exactly what is this, how we can get this done, and then obviously we can facilitate almost every scenario in every way.
And on the storefront side, or Contractor Centre, is it mostly walk-ins, or is it contractors per the name? Is it companies? Like, what's your typical client profile like that's really using the service of TCC at this stage?
I'd say 70% of our clients are contractors.
Okay.
Right. We have artisans as well who come in, who use like a welding plant to do a mosaic art piece. We have the homeowner who wants to power wash his driveway or a lawnmower, scrubber.
So you're selling these things now?
We rent these things. So what they do, they'll come, they'll rent it, they'll use it, they return it. Because a homeowner, what's the point of owning a lawnmower? I mean, if you're only going to use it once a month, twice a month, or so, better you just have somebody else maintain it. I think it's a good situation for them,
And one thing I've seen in the Jamaica market, financial market, stock market, the markets are really identify with a face and a brand. Mm-hmm. Are you finding, you mentioned your brand earlier, are you finding when you go out there, persons are saying, hey, this is the flooring guy, or hey, this is a contractor guy. Is it happening yet, Andre?
No. So what's happening is that the brand, right? So we're very prominently placed on Charlotte Road. So traffic is there every single morning. Everybody sees the brand. And so when I wear my shirts and I go, say, hey, I know the Contractor Centre on Charlotte Road, so people stop me and then they ask, what's your position there or so forth.
So you're kind of at that stage of the business where they're identifying the company with the person or the person with the company.
They identify the company
in the business cycle.
And I think what we're trying to do is bridge both together.
Sure. Yeah. No, interesting. And you mentioned different geographies that you're in, or let's say countries within the Caribbean. How, being domiciled in Jamaica, you are in Jamaica personally, let's say your management team, how do you be successful? Like, let's say Guyana, you've mentioned, Trinidad as markets, but how are you successful in these markets currently if you're doing business in them?
So we've been operating in Guyana for the better part of 9 years.
Wow, okay.
And so we've made a lot of relationships down there. We've done work for multiple companies down there. And so we have a base of operations, we have a salesperson, we have a team, we have equipment down there. And so Guyana is experiencing a massive boom with oil. And so we hope to benefit from that going forward.
And when you say, equipment down there already, operations, is that like you have a branch office, or is that more just like a joint venture with a business partner who runs it and you sent stuff down there?
So we have a joint venture with a business person down there, but we have our equipment for flooring down there. So we have two 20-inch grinders, vacuums, lots of vacuums, small grinders, jackhammers, product, all the accessories, everything is down there.
And, whether the GDP growth in Guyana is 30, 40, 50%, I mean, anyway, you skin the cat, that's a huge number. Mm-hmm. I mean, is the vision for CIS, listen, I want that GDP growth, and is the primary demand you're seeing oil, energy sector, or is it a mix of sectors in Guyana?
So, I mean, before our main product line was the resinous flooring. But with the energy sector, they need more coatings that are more for oil-based, right? Mm-hmm. So we've found partners to be able to offer that product down there, and it's a different type of preparation you need to be able to prepare the surface than what we do normally with flooring. So we have that specialized equipment down there as well. Okay. And so we are poised to be able to help those companies do that. So yes, oil sector is a big sector down there, but what happened is, I mean, we're living. So, nothing is new in the world, right? Yes. So Trinidad has already gone through that period where they had oil, certain sectors popped up around it, and so forth. So, the game plan is already there. So what we're doing is ensuring that we're there to be able to help those companies that will naturally spring off from the oil sectors. Because the oil sector is a sector myself, but it has support services that they need. And so we want to be a part of
the direct, indirect play.
Correct, exactly.
So you cover Guyana, Trinidad. Mm-hmm. You're seen as much opportunity there. Any boots on the ground or just, partnerships?
Well, we have partnerships there as well. It's a tougher market, right? As you know,
Is it tougher because of what's happening with the economy there for the last couple of years, or?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'd say there are about there are a lot more installers over there. So I'd say maybe 8 to 10. It's not necessarily as in Jamaica maybe 1 or 2, but very professional.
Yeah.
In Trinidad, it's not necessarily the same caliber of service deliver that's over there. And so it's a more price dependent market, and of course foreign currency is difficult to come by in that economy.
Which is, and do you find that that's a risk for you, even at your current size, with, getting foreign currency, let's say, back?
Yeah, so I mean, you're gonna have to, you definitely have to take payment in TT dollars, for sure.
Interesting.
And then you have to navigate it from there. So
any other markets, Andre, that you're looking at in the Caribbean or CARICOM at this time, or the focus is really just get those 2 external markets of Jamaica right?
Well, we have worked all over. I mean, we worked in Dominica, we worked in Grenada, we worked in Barbados, we worked in Saba and St. Martin, all over the Caribbean. What we have are like satellite offices. So basically, anywhere we get a job in the Caribbean, I can draw an equipment either from Guyana or Trinidad or Jamaica. It just depends on the location. Because one of the things is that we have to be able to service everybody. I mean, everybody has needs. There are manufacturing companies in every jurisdiction.
So really, I'd say you can do one-off projects quickly on a needs-be basis.
Absolutely.
If the customer wants that.
Absolutely, especially hotels as well.
Yeah. We're going to come right back to that. Interesting. We take another break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS, recently refinanced and upsized their corporate bond in the financial marketplace with accredited investors via Mayberry Investments Limited, Investment Bank MIL. Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited corporate bond was 100 million Jamaican dollars for general working capital purposes and corporate purposes. The company, via its flagship brand, the Contractor Centre, located on Shortwood Road in Kingston, plans to utilize additional funds. This is to add to its existing tool rental business and potentially enter the home improvement market further with a showroom in 2023 next year. We speak further with Mr. Andre Hutchinson, CEO of Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS, about this and lots more. Andre, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark.
That's a lot of money. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What are your plans? Besides corporate working capital purposes, I mean, maybe any deals in the market on the horizon, or is it just focus on the business and organic growth right now?
Well, you have to walk and chew gum, right? So we're definitely going to be doing some stuff for the organic growth, but definitely we are looking for deals for companies that are complementary to what we're doing, to give us some wider width in terms of distribution. And so we are actively looking at that. We've had quite a few conversations with a number of players. Nothing has been finalized yet, but I suspect, something may come up shortly.
Great. And what type of, you mentioned corporate bonds. So, I mean, it's a debt security or a hybrid, or it's a straight debt security. What type of instrument did you tap the market for?
So it was a straight debt security bond. It's a 2-year note. So we have a lot to do in the next couple of years. And we're going to be very aggressive in the market going forward in terms of everything that we're doing, in terms of what our visibility in the market, projects that we'll be doing, who we're partnering with, and of course, trying to increase our distribution.
And now, it's a fact, right? Mayberry is on the most IPOs in the market, whether junior market, etc. You have all the broker options out there. And I mean, from an SME perspective, you remember the JMA, why did you choose them, would you say, at this point in time?
We had sat down with quite a few brokers to try and get a transaction done, but I think Mayberry is offering something different. They're very supportive of small business, and they want to turn small business into big business. That's kind of what their thing is. And so I've known people at Mayberry for many, many, many years, and so they were very helpful. And so I think they even we'll see how it works out in terms of being good partners going forward.
And would you say this process, you're not on the junior market at this stage, you did a debt security. A lot of, older entrepreneurs, persons who have done this before say that, just for doing a debt security, it enhances the whole corporate governance, the transparency of the firm. Would you say this experience has, helped to just improve things at Carib Industrial Systems?
Well, what we're trying to do is tighten our operation. So we are trying to operate as if, as if we're a big company, as if we are a public company, as if whatever it is that we want to achieve, right? So whenever the time does come, we want to be, I don't want anything to be a surprise for us, right? We have to operate as if.
Yeah. And, definitely you're seeing an experience, and you see it on social media a lot more now, and you see it with the analysts in the brokerage community, that if they see a company, getting out there, doing some branding, we reference your shirt, doing a little debt raise here and there, some fundraise, are you gearing up, if you can say, are you looking at the capital markets for potential IPO down the road for you, your shareholders, and CIS?
Well, it's something that, it's a goal, right? The timing of which is, to be determined. But currently, we're in the process of restructuring our shareholdings. We're taking on new partners now, and we have an eye for some strong growth in the next couple of years. And should the opportunity present itself, who knows what we'll do.
But to really get to it, or maybe even hold you to it, is it something you think in the short term or the medium term, you may be Andre Hutchinson at the JSC at a listing ceremony, or it's something really right now you're just focused on growing the business?
Like I said, we have to walk on true gum, Mark. So the numbers will determine what we do in the future.
Okay, no, excellent. And do you see yourself tapping more of the markets, whether for preference shares, debt securities, you were in the finance game, or you think where you're at right now with this recent transaction, you're good for a while?
Yeah, we're good for now. What we are now is focusing. We've already started using some of the funds. We've bought Bobcat and forklifts, and so we're looking to buy some more things to add to the business. But we're not going to spend everything. We're trying to also stay ready for if any opportunities present itself to grow the business in a strategic manner.
So you mentioned those two things. So the proceeds, some of the proceeds you're really focusing on a tool rental business, which is Contractor Centre. And, what's a competitive landscape like that out there? Do you find, are there a lot of competitors in tool rentals, well, in Kingston where you are now, yeah, or not really?
So there are a couple of other people who do that sort of business, but, it's kind of geographical, right? So is there anybody in my area where we're operating in Kingston 8 or, Kingston 10? Probably not. Right, but there are other people. Kingston's a small area, but to go from point A to point B in Kingston during the middle of the day can be a bit of a challenge. So
sure,
there are a lot of projects happening around us in the Norbrook, Cherry Gardens, Shaw to the Road, Arcadia area taking place. So we have a lot of people who are utilizing our services. We want to be able to tap, down the other part of the island, and they want to be into Montego Bay, into St. Elizabeth, into Westmoreland. So, those are some of the relationships that we're trying to grow.
So on that point and on the growth trajectory, could you see yourself opening up? Just as we've seen, somebody in, whether it's Westmoreland, Montego Bay, open a branch in Kingston. Is that something that's on the horizon for you and the board of directors, Andre, where you could open a Contractor Centre, somewhere else in Jamaica?
Yeah, we have been approached multiple times. And for over the years, well, in recent time, it hasn't been opportunistic, but I think at this stage now, we're giving it far more consideration now.
And you mentioned that, clearly you like to collaborate, and you mentioned partnership, how you've done Trinidad, Guyana. Is it that you would do it directly, through the company yourself, let's say in a different location, or you kind of like the idea of partnering up with somebody who has an existing location? Outside of Kingston?
Yeah. Well, I would say I would prefer to partner with somebody because he who is in a particular geographic location knows that geographic location better than myself. I may understand how I want the business to run, but you must know what your clientele is like in that area. So we would prefer to partner with somebody in a new region, in a new location, a new parish. And so, again, partnerships are dependent on personality fit, business goals, and so, it has to be the right situation for us.
Got you. And when we really, dive deeper into the business, Carrier Industrial Systems and the Contractor Centre, just looking at both of them, what's really like the top 20% revenue, would you say? We know there's flooring, but when you look at the Contractor Centre, what really, are you providing, selling the most? Or what's the bread and butter business for that contractor who's coming into the store?
Day to day, I'd say there are 3 items. I'd call them demolition hammers, right? I think that is...
What does that do? Does that
so
just break down a building?
So it breaks up the concrete and stuff, goes through walls, breaks up foundations, takes tile off the ground.
And what would you say is the number one reason why a contractor, the perception, I'm a contractor, as you mentioned, I'm building in those areas, I have enough money, I'm doing my thing. Why would a contractor rent a tool? So to explain to us versus just buy it themselves? So
it's arbitrage, basically. I mean, you can rent a tool for maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a day. You use it for 3 days, $15,000. You buy that same tool, it may cost you $250,000, $300,000.
Okay.
So you put the difference in your pocket.
So from a contractor's perspective, your value proposition is just it's cash flow management in their minds.
And even also compactors, right? Compactors are a big thing as well. They compact the dirt, the foundation. Whenever people are building, they lay down the marl, they have to compact the area. A good compactor will cost you well over $1.5 million, right?
As much as that? Okay.
Yeah. So you rent it for maybe like $8,000 a day. You rent it 3 days. Again, massive arbitrage opportunity for people in the business. And
you mentioned a lot of, let's say, contractors for residential real estate, or let's just say real estate, but are you seeing persons that are doing, I don't know, bridges or roadwork projects or infrastructure projects? Are you seeing that market also gaining some appeal into your business as well?
Roadworks, definitely road. We have a road roller that people use, a 1-ton road roller. So there's been a lot of work in the area. Of course, anybody driving around Kingston 8 will see it, right? So yeah, people rent our road rollers for those sort of things.
Okay. And for the future, besides the Bobcat, those type of equipment, what else could you see, at the Contractor Centre in the future? Assuming, let's just say you had unlimited capital or, capital going forward. I mean, what type of tools would you really want to get the Contractor Centre to?
We want to be able to cover every possible scenario from small to big. We want to be able to facilitate the homeowner who just needs a lawnmower to the biggest developer who needs cranes. That's ultimately where we want to go. But of course, we're taking our baby steps. We're taking it one step at a time. We're not trying to bite off more than we can chew, and we want to be able to be consistent. I mean, one of the things that's critical is the service that we offer, right? Anybody can rent you a tool, but we want to ensure that we have the expertise in-house, not only to rent it to you, but tools break down, we want to be able to fix it as well. So as we go along, we try and grow our expertise, get our training. We're actually, we are a certified service center for Makita, which is the brand of tools that we carry to not only rent and sell. And so as we grow our expertise, we grow what we can do.
We're going to come back to that point, so how you train your team members as well as some of these marquee international brands. We're going to touch on that right away when we get back. We take another break on Business Dive Extra. More with Andre Hutchinson when we return. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS, has significant expansion plans in Jamaica and regionally. We find out about the untapped potential and the sectors that CIS is targeting for next year, 2023 and beyond. Is a potential IPO or equity raise on the horizon? Business plan for the company? Are there deals and acquisitions in the pipeline for Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, and the company's appetite towards this moving forward versus only organic growth? We speak for a final time today with Mr. Andre Hutchinson, CEO of Caribbean Industrial Systems Limited, CIS. Andre, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark.
So I've seen a ton of Jamaican businesses do really well based on, just having great international brands or, contracts with suppliers or just phenomenal brands globally. We see that all the time. You know, what brands do you have, or you know, if you have contracts with overseas suppliers or informally, but what brands do you really carry, you know, at CIS, the Contractor Centre, you know, today?
All right, so from the tool side, we have a great relationship with Makita. They actually are training, so we're retraining all of our technicians in order to be able to carry and repair anything Makita does.
Okay.
So that's and we're also an authorized service center for them, right, regionally.
Where is Makita kind of domiciled or from, and what type of products you said?
So Makita is a Japanese-based company, but we're dealing with Makita USA, of course. But Makita, they carry basically a lot of power tools. So we're talking about lawnmower, hedge trimmers, rotary hammers, demolition hammers, power tools, cordless tools. And so they have a wide variety of amazing stuff.
Okay.
You know, it's a consistent tool. It's reliable. It's easy to get parts for it.
How's the market take up here for something like that? Like
so,
a new brand came into the market through. Were you the first mover on it in the Jamaica market?
No, we're not the first mover, but I guess we're the most loyal mover of it. I guess that's what we'd call it. So it's like we try to have a wife relationship with whoever we're doing business with. So if we're doing business with you in a particular segment, we're only doing business with you in that segment.
Got you.
So as we go along, so this is basically how we're set up. We from the tool side is Makita, right? That's who we deal with. On the epoxy side, we have our own. We over the years we've learned what works and what doesn't work. So we have specifications. So we get our epoxy made for ourselves.
So this is like a proprietary.
Yes.
I don't know. Is it
proprietary blend?
CIS or Contractor Centre?
Well, we term it the Contractor Centre.
Yes.
But it's over the years of CIS learning what works and what doesn't work, and so
you have your own epoxy.
We own our
comes in like a bucket or something, or
yes, private labels.
Okay.
Yes. So
and you find the customers, you know, again, just like your shirt, the customers like that. They kind of like that vibe. They're like, whoa, you have your own epoxy. Is that pretty cool? Or epoxy is epoxy?
Well, epoxy is not epoxy. That's for sure. Okay. Right. Clients like that when it works, right? And so that's what we want to focus on. That what we provide works. We're not into carrying the inexpensive fad. I mean, I saw a company a couple of years ago carry a lot of Chinese tools.
Okay.
And they had to discontinue it.
Okay.
Because it just wasn't. It's not reliable.
So they just went for like quantity over quality.
Right.
Okay.
And so what we want to show is when somebody comes to the Contractor Centre, they know that what you're getting is quality at all times, right?
Do you do any kind of like, whether it's home deliveries or business deliveries, or you're not in that market space yet? Like if a contractor says, I really need this done, would you actually kind of take it directly to their work site, or you're not there yet?
Absolutely, we would do that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Our thing is just to try and make your job easier.
Okay.
We make money when you make money, right?
So it's a win-win combo.
Absolutely. Whatever you need us to do, as long as we can do it, we will do it.
Good. So I've heard you preach a lot of, quality and service as some of the ethos of CIS, Contractor Centre. What would you say are potential new products? What's new for later this year or next year for the business? I don't know, any new things in, concrete, or any new things in epoxy, or what's new potentially in flooring or in the tool side?
So on tool side, definitely going to have bigger equipment going forward. So 2023, our clients should look forward to seeing us with some bigger equipment.
You're going to showcase that on Short Road or I don't know, a billboard or
small,
signage?
But we're going to try and add, people see it as they drive past. So we're going to try and do that.
Okay.
On the flooring side, we're going to start tackling more like pool decks and walkways, and we're going to start doing some stamped concrete and overlay. We've done a couple projects already, but we're going to be pushing kind of hard on that going forward. We've built a very good reputation thus far doing the resinous flooring, so epoxies, polyurethanes, acrylics, aspartics. And so what we're trying to do is add more value to our clients.
Yeah.
So we want to take care of the inside of your house and the outside.
And would you say, we started in the roofing market. We've seen a lot of new kind of roofing companies come into the market, and they're providing actually, they look more aesthetic, and they're providing, a better bargain for your money, or let's say, without saying cheaper price, but it's a better price, and persons want value for their money, especially with their homes and so forth. When you mention like stamp concrete and pool decks and all these things, is that what's driving persons to do this, whether it's the tourism sector or their residents, is to look at these alternative things versus just say tiles? Is it a price in your mind, or is it a aesthetic thing?
Well, I think first it's a safety issue, right?
Why is it safety?
With tile, there's no grip. I mean, you can, when you do a tile on a pool deck and you step out on that pool full of water, that's dangerous.
So you mean whether kids, whether guests?
Absolutely.
So there's some liability at that point.
Absolutely. So first and foremost is a safety concern, right? But secondly of all, I mean, the thing about stamped concrete and even epoxy stuff, it's perfectly customizable. You can get the color you want, the look you want, the feel you want. I mean, ultimately, you have to live with the decisions you make around your home and your businesses.
So any color and texture
any color and texture you can want, yeah, absolutely.
How does a customer know that? Is that just through a color chart, like when you walk into like a paint store, or it's like through images, or, I mean, how do they know what they're going to get?
Well, first of all, I always ask the customer, what's your vision, right? When you're at your home, you have an idea what you want it to look like, right? But secondly, I would say the consumer is a far more educated consumer than when I first started.
Is that because of Google and
Absolutely.
I don't know, Pinterest and all these things they can just jump onto?
Absolutely. Google, Pinterest, people are far more informed. They have a very good idea of what they want before they even call you. They're trying to figure out, can you deliver? Right? That's really where it's at. And so my job is just to deliver what the vision is. Right? I may make a suggestion if there's some uncertainty, but my job is to deliver.
How is your team now? We know Andre Hutchinson, you're the face of the company, but you're growing.
Right.
You just did your corporate bond. How is the management team? How is the business continuity? Do you have a number 2? Do you have a number 3? Or what's happening with the team now to achieve this vision you've been talking about today?
Yeah. So I have a number 2. Her name is Yenny Griffiths. She's been with me almost 9 years, almost from the start.
Well, that's always a good sign.
Almost from the start. She understands the business inside and out, and is a very important part of the business.
Okay.
But we have 2 other people who are helping, who are critical part of the business going forward. And so, you have Shauna K. Brand. She helps out with organizing the guys, and she's really the person who manages the clients. We have 2 amazing people downstairs. We have Tanisha Heron, who has a wealth of knowledge in tools, and we have a young lady called Natalie Davis, who is very, very, very good as it relates to interacting with clients and organizing the store. And what's one more person? We have a technician in the field, 2 technicians, one in the field and one in the store. Kenroy Smith, very diligent guy, and a gentleman in the back, Omar McGregor.
So you got I know you're bigging up everybody, but you got a team then. It's not just you at the end of the day for this vision you're trying to achieve.
Correct.
And potentially going public one day. So this is your management team.
The numbers will dictate.
Yeah. So this is your management team at the end of the day.
These are the people who make my life easier.
And how have you been training them? You mentioned a lot of certifications globally, so forth. I mean, what's kind of like, not just a morale, but how do you train these persons, especially because you're in this specialized business, very different than other companies.
Yeah. So we started with a company. So we started in the epoxy business with a company called Duraflex. We still use them, and Duraflex is not only offer some of the best
U.S. company or
U.S. company out of Connecticut. They're not only one of the best in terms of epoxy, but they're also one of the best in terms of training. And so I've been trained, retrained, and retrained using Duraflex. And
is this something that happens annually or every couple of years?
Every 2 years. Anything new? Because I would say just applying the product is the easiest part. The hardest part is actually preparing the surface to take the product.
And so, Andre, you mentioned the management team, 5 persons or so. But, where do you see the business going? Where do you want to go with the business? Take this company to, 3-5 years. I mean, everybody's talking about you know, the next 2-3 years now, because business has just got faster. You know, shareholders want quicker returns. You know, financial firms want quicker deals.
Absolutely.
So there's more pressure now on CEOs, you know, board of directors to drive performance. So, you know, we used to say, what's the 5-year outlook? Persons are now like, listen, I just want to hear about the next 3 years. But what do you want for yourself, for Carib Industrial Systems, CIS, and the Contractor Centre?
So, I mean, as a CEO, my focus, obviously the numbers are very important. Our shareholders have certain requirements and certain expectations. But my day-to-day, or I shouldn't say day-to-day, my quarter-to-quarter concern is getting the transaction right. Right? Once I focus on ensuring quality of what we're doing. Quality will stand the test of time and will produce the numbers that we need in the time. So I focus on systems and technology. How can we improve by using technology? How can we build systems where we can scale and train new people and build a business? That's my main focus.
Main focus overall.
Yeah. And the numbers will take care of themselves once we take care of our clients.
It's great to hear. Andre, it's great having you on Business Live Extra and having a new business on Business Live Extra. Andre Hutchinson, Carib Industrial Systems, CIS, the Contractor Centre. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
That's it for another edition of Business Live Extra BLE. Remember, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. We've been talking with Andre Hutchinson, CEO of Carib Industrial Systems Limited, CIS. Don't forget, you can watch us online, cvmtv.com/videos/Business Live Extra. Thanks for joining us.